So, Leaving Cert Business exam tomorrow. I just wanted to get a couple of tips in, a couple of things to watch for when you sit your exam. I hope everything goes well for you. Just take your time through the paper. Think keywords the whole way, and I'm sure you'll be great. But I just put this together as a run through, just like different things to look at and remember as you go through it. So tip one, give 2 points of info for everything, okay? Everything in the exam needs a development. It's very, very rare, unless it was list or something like that, that you would get marks for just giving one statement. Particularly just watch that in the shorts, because in the shorts, there's like less room to write. So there's only 2 lines there, so it feels like there's less room to write. What I really like to do in the shorts is use like a mini statement. So say something and then put a dash and then say something else. You need to develop it, okay? So you can never get full marks for just writing one bullet or one sentence. Particularly the shorts, just watch out for that common error that happens, okay? The other thing to look for here is in implication. Just watch with implications. In this case here, it's an implication of changing from a functional to a matrix structure. The breakdown of marks would be something like 3 marks for an implication and then 3 marks or 2 marks for showing how that implication happens when a business goes from a functional to a matrix structure, okay? So this implication here, you want to say something should go up or something should go down. So it'll get faster, it'll get slower. Decision making will get faster, decision making will get slower, whatever it is. And then you need to say, due to going from a functional to matrix, they're moving to teams. So the idea development should improve as there's more brainstorming or there's a greater mix of ideas between different groups in teams, something like that. So you're saying the implication and how the implication happens because of whatever else is in the question. But take home point number 1, state and develop. Don't just write a bullet, particularly the shorts. Okay, tip 2, reduce any excess info, okay? Don't try to pad your answers. And this thing here, just keep that front and center in your head. Waffle, forget about it. Don't put any introductions. Don't say, one of the best things about becoming a franchisor is just get straight to the point. Like, proven business idea. Like that's one of the best things about using a franchise to start up your own business, okay? Rather than opening up Duffy's Pizza, you pay to be Domino's Pizza. So it's a proven business idea, you're less likely to fail. You know that people like Domino's, okay? So it reduces failure. So something like that, okay? Don't pad, don't write just to fill the page. It's a waste of time for you, waste of time for the examiner. No one benefits from it, okay? Just really concise to the point. Before your pen touches the paper, think to yourself, am I gonna write something here that's gonna score marks? And if you're not, forget about it, don't write it. Like, way less is way better. Quality over quantity all the way, okay? So generally within 4 lines of info, you should be able to give a point that has a statement and development, even an example in there. Okay, so concise. So it's keywords all the way. That's all the examiner really cares about. So keywords as much as you can, okay? So here's just an example of it. Describe the first 4 stages in the development process of a product, okay? Likely question potentially for tomorrow, and I just want to show you how quickly you can get marks, okay? Idea generation, 2 marks, okay? No introduction, no padding, no waffle. Using brainstorming and market research to come up with ideas, that gets you full marks. That's a H1. That's the best answer in the country. No one can top that. And you don't need to write much, okay? Product screening. You can see here product screening, 2 marks. Conducting a SWOT analysis to discard bad ideas, okay? Or pick the ones with the most potential. Straight to the point, straight to getting a H1 there, straight to getting full marks. You can see here concept development, how little was written. 2 marks for getting the stage right. And then adding product features, image, design, or USP. USP there is the important thing to really say there with that. Discarding the bad ideas is good for product screening. Oh, sorry. And then brainstorming is good for idea generation. So they're the kind of buzzwords, if I was examining and correcting, I would be looking for. So those are the things that matter. Writing more clearly doesn't matter here because it's getting loads of marks. Okay, tip 3 for the ABQ, make sure to give keywords for each point. Okay, often in the ABQ, because you get given this story, you can get sucked into the story and talk about loads about the story. Okay, so Rory set up a coffee truck on Bundoran Beach. Okay, and it goes on about Rory, and then what you can do as a student then is write loads about Rory. But if the question is about, what are the reasons he set up the business, most of the marks are going for that from the course, like, to earn a profit instead of being limited by the wage he was earning in his job, stuff like that. And then you just need to find a direct quote, a direct and relevant quote from the text just to sub in, okay? So the bulk of the marks and the bulk of your answer in the ABQ should not be the story, it should be the keywords from the course, because it's a Leaving Cert Business exam and you want to show the examiner that you know Leaving Cert Business, okay? And how you end up getting the marks in the ABQ is that you can then find and identify relevant quotes and links and transfer them word for word with the keywords, okay? And tip 4 then, to link in with it, ABQ gets 2 because it matters that much. It's worth 20% of your paper, but don't spend too long on it. It's the biggest time suck on the paper by a mile. You can fall into the trap of putting too much emphasis in it. You can also fall into the trap of rushing your shorts. The shorts are worth as much as the ABQ, so don't fly through it thinking I have to get this ABQ done. Spend time with the shorts, give them enough attention like that, develop points, don't just write bullet answers. And then with the ABQ then, just don't spend too long. Set a timer, like 15-minute max per 30 marker, 12-minute maybe on a 20 or 25 marker, something like that to get you in under the 40, 45 minutes. But it can slip away, so you need to be disciplined with the ABQ. Okay, here's an example of an ABQ answer. Like this was around insurance that a business could get. It was a creche. And you can see here, this is the layout for the ABQ. Okay, you want to state something. So this was the insurance, public liability. You can see it's picking marks. Then a business, you need to explain what this is. So we're going to put in explain here. It offers a business protection for members of the public injuring themselves on the premises. Okay, and we've 2 other marks here. So we've 4 out of the 6 marks for the keywords from the course for your ABQ. Okay, that's really important just to bear that in mind. That's what's going to score you well in the ABQ once you have a relevant link. And you can see here then, there's a relevant link in place, so it's 2 marks. Okay, you can see I wrote even less there in the bottom one, employer liability, 2 marks, and then explanation of employer liability, 2 marks, and then a direct relevant quote, 2 marks. Okay, so quality over quantity. This one is just relevant enough to you tomorrow because it could very well come up. Evaluate the management activities, okay? Or it might be evaluate a specific one, like types of plans, I would say would be very high on my list of things that would likely come up for the ABQ, like mission statements, strategic planning, stuff like that. And then you have to pick out a link for each of them. And just remember to explain them, mission statement, the values and vision for the business, strategic planning, long-term planning, drawn up by senior management based on mission statement, e.g. for expansion, and then find a quote from the text that shows like Rory wanting to expand into a coffee shop premises or whatever, and that's then seen as long term because hopefully he'd have that premises then for years and years and years. Okay, but what I want to show you here with the evaluate as well, people often get worried about that in the ABQ. It's usually only worth about 4 out of 80 marks, so it's not the be all and end all whatever compared to, like, say your keywords. So there's 5 marks here for the keywords, 3 marks for a quote, and only 1 mark for the evaluation. So focus on the good stuff. The goal is all the keywords from the course and finding a relevant link. When it does come to an evaluation time, that's when you can talk about the business, okay? You need to, for an evaluation, give an opinion, and then justify it or back it, okay? So you need to say why you think that, okay? So I think John did great because he did X, Y, Z, okay? Give an opinion and back it up. It's not just using keywords. That's where you should be talking about the story. Okay, so in my opinion, it's great. It gives them a future focus. So you can see that was the evaluation there, and they can set targets to achieve on a timeline. So, some kind of why you think something is good or bad, and watch out for bad ones. In this one here, the control was bad. It was about the wedding menus, and they had lost control because the quality was poor. So watch out. Potentially you might need to evaluate something that hasn't gone well, and you should be critical of it then, saying that wasn't good because of X, Y, Z. Okay, let's go on. Tip 5. If a business is referenced in the question, you generally have to link that in your answer, okay? So you can see here for SuperSave, discuss the benefits of both internal and external recruitment for a business such as SuperSave. Generally there, it would break it down that you get a benefit of internal recruitment, you explain how internal recruitment brings about that benefit, and then you get 1 mark for linking in SuperSave here. So we are going with a state, explain and relate, and for the relate, it's the business that's mentioned in the question. So when they mention a question, when they mention a business in the question, make sure that you give your keywords first and then a line that links it to it, apply it to it. Okay, so M6 Motors came up for stock control, so you give stuff like stock takes. You don't want to overstock, or stuff might go out of date or go off or become perishable or whatever. You don't want to understock because you might lose out on sales. And then M6 would do regular stock checks of cars so they don't take in too many of the same model. Something that's just linked to whatever the story is, okay? Okay, and let's move on. Okay, if you have to draw a chart, graph, memo, report, whatever, titles and labels and lines and axes are the biggest killer for marks there, okay? Product life cycle, as a long question, I could see it very much coming up. And what's really important here is that students love getting introduction, growth, maturity, saturation, decline, and they think they've got it all sorted. But that is only worth 5 out of 9 marks, okay? So you're just getting over half the marks for that. You need to then look at, okay, where else is going. So we are going here. The sales access is going to be labeled to get 1 mark. The title of the product lifecycle, putting a title on top, gets 1 mark. So anytime you give a graph or draw anything, you should have a title. And then the sales line itself being labeled gets a mark. And then down here, this should be time as well, which will be worth a mark. I think I chopped it off there when I was doing it, okay? So you can see time is referenced here. Okay, so just watch when you are drawing something that you label it correctly. Okay, for the product lifecycle, how I would draw it, if I was doing it tomorrow, I would draw it out and then I would separate it up into 5 equal, sorry, because I'm zoned out, it's gone, the pen has turned pretty big, but try and get it into 5 equal lines and then go intro slow, growth fast, maturity starts to level, saturation starts falling, and then decline, and then call it sales revenue there, okay? So I would, sorry, what I was trying to show there was I'd split it up into 5 first rather than draw it and then try and dot down the lines with the 5, because in my experience students are very bad at that, okay? So I'll try and do it without as much smudge. So you can see I'm dotting down the 5 different stages first so that then I can draw them nice and clearly. So intro, growth, maturity, saturation, and decline, okay? And then label, title, label, and label, and you'll pick up all your marks for that. Okay, a break-even chart again, as a long question, potentially likely, and just you need to label stuff as well. So see over here, it's revenue and cost would be worth a mark, okay, so get that in. You need your title up here, also worth a mark, so don't throw away silly marks, and you need then to have your quantity in units worth a mark down there, okay? For the break-even, you should also label the break-even amount here. You can see it gets 4 marks for labeling it. You can label your break-even revenue and cost and your break-even quantity, okay? So no harm just to label them up and show clearly what they are. You can see then for your margin of safety, it's the difference between whatever your target was and whatever your break-even is. So you can put in here, your margin of safety is 10,000 units and you get 4 marks for it. And then here, your profit at full capacity is the difference between 450 over here and 350 over here. So again, I'm showing the profit at full capacity here and you're picking up the marks for it. So just make sure you label everything clearly. And then the lines, revenue gets 4, total cost gets 4, and fixed cost gets 2, okay? Use graph paper, take your time with it. Fixed cost will always be flat. Total cost will always start on fixed cost. And you're off to a flyer there already. Total revenue always starts at 0. So you've got 4 points that are very much fixed. So the only 2 calculations you really need to do is whatever your forecast or target output is here, you need to find out your total cost and your total revenue, and you'll be able to draw it and you'll be able to get all your break even. Okay, tip 7. When giving headings, use statements, not titles. This is really important, okay? Titles are like brand name. You know, like that doesn't mean anything by itself. Morale means nothing by itself. Increased morale, that means something, okay? It means it's gotten higher. So make sure that you make a statement and not a title, okay? And also bear in mind that the first thing you write doesn't have to be 1 word or 2 words. You're not limited. You don't have to use headings as such. It's just a good way usually that teachers probably tell you to answer, because it means that you'll say something and then you'll develop it. And that comes back to tip 1 that I was talking about earlier. You need a statement and development. You need to like develop something. You can't just give one piece of information. So headings or statements or titles or whatever usually do well because they pick up the marks there, but only if they're good. So let's have a look here, okay? This question was, outline the advantages and disadvantages for a business in the fast food sector of choosing franchising as a method of business expansion. Okay, again, I just picked this one out because I feeling could be on the paper tomorrow as well. For an advantage or disadvantage, you need to show something going up or going down. Okay, and this is for, just watch it as well, because if it comes up in the second half of the paper, it's a business expanding, so it's Supermax growing. If it comes up in the first half of the paper in question 2, it's about me becoming a Supermax instead of being Duffy's Burgers, okay? So just watch that, okay? If it's question 5, 6, 7, or 8, it's the business expanding. If it's question 2, it's a person becoming a franchise, so the franchisee, okay? Be careful. They'll usually put the words expansion in there as well to help you. Expansion means it's the franchisor that wants to grow by letting other people use their brand. Okay, but let's have a look, okay? What are we here for? Let's remind ourselves. Not titles, okay? We want to make statements. And particularly for advantages, disadvantages, a statement needs to say something is getting higher or lower, or there's an impact or verb there, okay? So the top one here was good. Increased sales or fees or profits, okay? So that's what Pat McDonough gets in Supermax. And you get half your marks for saying that. And then you need to explain how does allowing other people to use your business increase your sales, fees, or profits. And it's here, if new restaurants are successful, the franchisor will usually take a share of the profits and they'll also get a fee. Okay, so that's your 3 marks. So you've said what the advantage is and then how selling your franchise brings about that advantage. So let's look down here then. Level of work and time spent, okay? So this here is a bad title or heading or whatever it is, and it gets 0 marks because it doesn't say anything, okay? I haven't said level of work goes up or down. I haven't said time spent on it goes increase or decrease. If I had said either of them, it would be worth something. It would be a statement. It's just a title at the moment. They're bad. That's what you need to avoid completely. You need to make sure it says something. Now, it doesn't mean that you wouldn't get the marks. If we look down here, franchisors would have to spend a lot of resources to help new franchisees. Okay, so I get marks for that. That's fine. That's your statement. Okay, so that replaces the marks that you potentially could have got for your heading. So the good thing about putting it in the heading is that you'd score marks early, so you're more likely to score marks again. Okay, in this instance, I still got it. Okay, so then what I needed to do was show how they usually provide mentoring or offer advice and supervise franchisees. Okay, so you're showing there how how that disadvantage comes about. Okay, so they spend a lot of time with the franchisee, time, resources, money with them to train them, mentor them, etc. Okay, tip 8, watch the verb. Okay, verb is important. So illustrate means you need an example. You don't just need an example because keywords are king, so you have to give your state and explain first, and then you give your example. Okay, outline the benefits, impacts, and advantages. I think I've done that then a few times today. Just make sure you use a verb, you show something going up or down. Tip 9, examples are fine as a development of a statement. Okay, they won't get you all the marks because you need your keywords because they are the things that matter the most. And then an example can help, but you don't need an example ever at all, only if you're asked for it or if the verb is illustrate. Okay, and then generally try and give real examples where appropriate. So law of contract, whether it's legality of purpose and you needed to give an example, you could talk about a drug deal is not a valid legal contract because it's illegal. You don't need to know an actual drug deal or any reference to a real life case or anything like that. The example there just explains the point, which is what the examiner would look for. Where here, name a pricing strategy suitable for a product, service of your choice. Here you would need it would need to be real there. Okay, so use a real life example like a Kit Kat or a Freddo or whatever it is. Okay, but generally with examples, the main point of the example is for you to show understanding. So you're trying to, I wouldn't give one word examples. I would explain why the example works. Okay, so you're trying to show understanding using an example. And the last one there, to evaluate, give an opinion on something and support that opinion. Okay, so with evaluate, generally people ask, do you just give one or do you give loads? I would say if you're really looking to push it and you've got time, I would evaluate each part of each answer because they have looked for more than just one evaluation overall. And particularly in the ABQ, if you're asked to evaluate, say, areas of control, which I think is the other very likely thing that could come up there for Unit 3. If you were to give stock control, quality control, and credit control, you give an evaluation for each of them as well. Okay, so best of luck. On my site there, I've got different kind of predictions, trends, stuff like that we can that you can go through. Stuff like, say, service providers potentially could come up. It came up in the ABQ a few years ago and was on the deferred paper. I kind of like that one. Chapter 4 or 5. On the 2023 deferred paper, it was compare the role of the entrepreneur to the manager under certain headings. I like that one as well for tomorrow, definitely as well. But there's a load of predictions there and a load of different things. There's a handout up on the website that you're able to, I'll link it down below, and you're able to go on and you could look through that. There is the list of these likely topics, and then there's a couple of different exercises if you're kind of stuck for something to do and you're bouncing between stuff. It might give you a bit of focus later. It's got all the keywords and different kind of practice questions with solutions. But tomorrow, sit down, breathe, don't rush. You don't need to be in a rush because you don't need to write that much once what you write is good stuff. So just calm yourself and don't let yourself start overwriting early because you'll just keep on going and you'll get lost in it, okay? So just like each question, pause, calm yourself and go, right, quality, not quantity, and then go again. Okay, so do give points of development. It's not like you just have to write a couple of words, but don't waffle, don't pad, don't try and add anything that you don't need. If it's not keywords, you're not getting any marks, so it's just a waste of time. Yeah, with that, I would say if you have time at the end, what I love doing, say if this was my A4 sheet here, how I would answer it is I would like give my statement, I would develop it, and then I would like say skip 2 lines, give my statement, develop it, skip 2 lines, statement, develop it, and then move on to the next page. So I would try and say start like A here, so just say that's question 1A, and then I would go to the next page, start question 1B. And in that way then, you just leave loads of nice space here so that if you're finished early, you can come back in and add bits of information in, and you're not trying to squish it in tiny little scribbles. And it just leaves a load of space. It makes it much easier for you as a student to go and reread your answers at the end, and it makes it much easier for the examiner to go and correct your answer. So best of luck with it. I'm sure you'll smash it. And you're nearly there with the exams overall. Hope they're going great for you. And yeah, nearly there. So good luck.